Hello, good morning, 11 a.m. on the West Coast. Perfect time to get started for the day. I'm trying something different. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm live on both my Facebook page, the Ingrid Turner Spiritual Medium, and the Facebook group, Living in Partnership with Spirit. So I've got two different tabs open, and I'm working this. So I hope it doesn't turn out really weird and funny, but it seems okay on my end. If you notice anything very strange, please leave a comment and let me know, and we'll try something else. Okay, so good morning, good day, good afternoon. Let me start by telling you I love you. I was asked yesterday, one of you commented on my link to the Living in Partnership with Spirit show that I did yesterday. What are your insights on Charlottesville and the state of the nation? And I went, oh boy. And I wanted to do that in a separate post and give it its own spotlight. So for me, this is a scary place to be. I have messages from Spirit about what is going on in our country, in our nation. I've shared it with some people, and I've even shared it publicly in a written form. But this felt like it deserved to be spoken. I needed to step up and get into my nervousness about it because it's big, and what the messages I've received are not necessarily going to land well with everybody. And yet I need to stand up and be the channel that I'm being asked to be. See, when I am asked, my hard and fast rule is I don't say it unless I'm invited. I need to be asked about these kind of things. And I was asked, and I went, okay, well, that's my agreement, Spirit. So I'm going to step up and I'm going to speak. And then I was meeting with a wonderful, wonderful woman yesterday for a one-on-one session. And I loved, even just makes me want to cry when I reflect back on her courage in asking me this question. She said, I wanted to ask people like you this question forever, and I've never felt able to. I never wanted to put that responsibility on anybody. And I said, hey, I'm an open book, ask. And she said, why is it if everything is so great and we create our reality and we are to have faith and trust in the universe that little girls in North Korea are being raped? Why is that? And that is an amazing question. And I'm so glad she asked that question. And I gave her the answer that I received from Spirit. And I'm going to give you a similar answer about the state of our nation, why this is happening. To answer her question publicly about the little girls and the suffering that people endure, that people show up and endure, it's really important for me to, again, let me back up a little bit here. And I know I'm a little bit all over the place, but like I say, this is big. And leading up to this, her question affirmed for me that this is what needed to happen. Somebody needed to step up, a channel needed to step up and speak the truth as it was received from Spirit, as I have received it from Spirit. I want to thank her for being that validation, for being that messenger, and for having the courage to stand up and ask a question like that. Because a lot of us just want to stay in our little happy, like everything's great bubble, and everything is great, but it's also sometimes really, really, really not. And it was funny, the first person who posed that to me was my mother. And of course, when my mother posed that to me a few years ago, because it's mom, and moms are meant to challenge us. So these people show, our family is meant to challenge us. But I was able to breathe and channel what was needed for this wonderful woman who asked me this question. So if you've had if you've worked with me before, if you've worked with me one-on-one, then this spiel I'm about to give you will be familiar to you. I talk a lot as I'm channeling. I talk a lot as I'm telling you, I'm all distracted by all the little reactions and floaties. That's really cool, guys. Thank you. Sorry. I'm going to get better at this. I really am. I talk a lot. I give you everything that I get as I receive it. So I give you everything I see, hear, taste, feel, anything that comes through as it comes through. And also, it is really important for you to know that you can ask me anything. Nothing is off limits. And that's why this wonderful woman was able to ask me what she asked me yesterday, is because truly nothing is off limits. And I will give you the answer that I received from Spirit in the best way that I know how, as clearly as I know how, pulling no punches, okay? No sugarcoating, giving you the spirit message from spirit, and then the solution, because that's what spirit does. Spirit sends us the solution, even if it's really difficult, like what's going on with the state of our nation right now, what happened in Charlottesville, what we're facing, this resurgence of hate and racism that so many of us felt was finally dying away and going. Suddenly we're seeing this blip that's popping up again, and it's awful. And it's especially awful for the empaths out there, people who are very empathic and can really feel what those people went through in Charlottesville, can feel the hate coming from our leadership. Now, I'm not a fan of politics. I'm not a fan of getting political, but if you are in partnership, living in partnership with spirit, this is really clear that this is not in alignment with spirit. This is not in alignment with source. This is not in alignment with enlightenment and awakening. Oh, but see, it is in enlightenment with awakening. So this is where I'm going to start getting into the message, okay? And I welcome you to comment. And if I'm not going to worry so much about comments right now as I'm talking, but I will get to you. Well, no, that's not true. I need to be able to answer your questions. Let me move this over. Oh, thank you, Amanda. Hi, Carolina. Hi, Candace. Oh, you guys. Silly Ingrid. So here's what I need to tell you about. I want to ask you this question, and I want you to think about this for just a second. Remember your first spiritual awakening? Do you remember what that was like? Maybe you're going through it right now. Maybe it's been years since you've been through it. Maybe you've been through a few. I remember my big one, and I remember what happened to my life when I went through that awakening. Everything fell to pieces. Chaos ensued. I lost everything. I spent the next 2 years bouncing around with my little son, unstable, bouncing from home to home to home, never having our own home, but living in other people's home. I lived with my friend. God bless him. He took us in, and we lived in this little outbuilding in his house out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, an hour from civilization, just in the woods. I had been living in Hollywood. I had an apartment. I had a marketing agency that I was starting. And when I woke up, when I cracked open, that all went away so fast. And it was just absolute chaos. When, after I spent some time at my friend's house, conflict started to arise, and I had to move from there. And I back in with my mother. I'm a woman in my 30s with a child, and I had to move in with my mother, and I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do marketing. I couldn't do the work that I'm doing now. I was stuck in this place of stasis. Oh my God, I can't do anything. What am I here to do? And then I bounced into a caregiving situation, which blew up in our faces, and then back to my mother's house, and finally ended up in a home, moving in with a wonderful partner. But it took 2 years to get there, 2 years of chaos, and everything I touched falling through my hands and falling to pieces. And what was I meant to do? What was I meant to do during that time when everything fell apart and everything fell to pieces? And I'll tell you what that is. That was to heal myself, because I could not stand up and do the work that I do, which, yes, it's psychic work, it's mediumship work, and that's really fun. But the truth is, what I do is simply a vehicle through which to express spirit, to express spirituality, and share that with the world. That's the core, the crux of what I'm doing. And I couldn't do that when I was still carrying around a bunch of baggage from my life and, the work that I'd done and the tiny box that I put myself in. It wasn't going to happen. And Spirit said, be. Everything else will be stripped away and you will heal. I don't know if any of you are a fan of Trey Crowder. Trey Crowder is hilarious. What is he? He's the liberal redneck. Oh my God, he's so funny. I mean, if you have a stomach for crude and lewd, I encourage you to go watch his latest video about what happened in Charlottesville. And his message is really short and succinct and clear. It is a very funny and rude version of what I'm sharing with you, which is love will out. Okay. Let's ask you this question. Is it all, even with what happened in Charlottesville and that woman, Heather, beautiful Heather, who we lost, and the people who were injured, and that crazy man driving that Dodge Charger through that crowd of people? Wow. And yet, is that worse than it has been? Is it as bad as it was? Or are we healing? Are we getting better? Is it getting better? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. We're dealing with a spiral here. Life and healing is a spiral. We are going through a national spiritual awakening. And this is the tail end of awakening. The chaos that has been going on in the world for hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years, has reached our doorstep. And here we are as a nation. And what we're dealing with is we have peace and prosperity, or more of it, and then it's spiraling in to revisit some of the icky places that we have been in our lifetime. In our history, where we have been to in our history as a nation. And it's going to spiral back out. It's going to spiral back out. And what we're dealing with is an awful, difficult, trying shakeup. As a nation, Spirit is taking the nation and shaking it and turning it upside down and wringing it out, because it's time for us to move forward and to heal. And that is what happens when we have a spiritual awakening. This is what happens when we have a personal spiritual awakening. And this is what's happening for our nation. Chaos. Now, here's where I want to talk about where we fit in as individuals. Where we go here. We choose our life, our existence, our experiences and such, and we create it as we go. I can remember where during the election, I was driving down the street and I kept seeing Donald Trump, posters everywhere I went. And I thought to myself, what the hell alternative dimension did I slip into? What the fuck is this? And that's when it hit me. You did slip a dimension. You did slip a dimension. We slip dimensions. We slip dimensions all the time because we're constantly creating our reality. We went from the reality of the last presidency to the reality of this presidency and this leadership's nation. And we're here because we are meant to make it better, every single one of us. So what can you do? What can you do to make it better? What can you do to heal the nation, to assist the nation in its spiritual awakening, to bring us to that place of enlightenment lifestyle, of love and hope and tolerance? So I'm going to give you two quotes that I think are really important that came to me yesterday. So the first is from Gandhi. Gandhi says, to change the world, you must first change yourself. The next is from Michael Jackson. And I'm going to quote some song lyrics here. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. It's really hard for a lot of us to stomach. What do you mean I created this? I didn't vote for that guy. I don't agree with that. I am love. I am compassion. I am everything good and light in the world. And you are. But you're also a part in this creation process, no matter what it is. You are here to be the love, to be the contrast against the hate, the horror. Okay? So what can you do? I've lost my notes here. I'm going to find them again. No, here they are. So what can you do? What can you do? How can you take responsibility for your little piece of it? Because we're all here co-creating what is happening in our nation, what is happening right now. And God bless you. How much worse could it be if there weren't the light workers in the world showing up to spread the light, to spread the love, and to spread the compassion? So here's what you can do. Here's the most important thing you can do and why you are so critical to the awakening process of our nation. You focus on healing yourself. You focus on healing yourself. I don't care where you think you are on your spiritual path, on your expansion, how far you've come. Remember, as long as this is happening in our world, there is a piece inside of you that is calling to be healed and loved. So there's two things for you to do. Focus on self and take your inspired action. I'm not saying don't do anything except just focus on yourself. But what I am saying is if you, like me, are in a position where you go, I feel frozen. I don't know what to do to help with the situation. I do. What you can do is heal yourself. And I have a really good exercise for that I'm going to share with you. And some of you may have heard of it. It's called Ho'oponopono. It's Hawaiian. Okay. And I'm going to read a little excerpt here for you so that you can understand it, because this explains it much more clearly than I am able to. I'm on this website called laughteronlineuniversity.com, and it's practice Ho'oponopono, 4 simple steps. And it says, have you heard of the Hawaiian therapist who cured an entire ward of criminally insane patients without ever meeting any of them or spending a moment in the same room? It's not a joke. The therapist was Dr. Ahalaikala Hugh Len. He reviewed each of the patient's files, and then he healed them by healing himself. The amazing results seem like a miracle, but then miracles do happen when you use Ho'oponopono, or Dr. Len's updated version called self-identity through Ho'oponopono. What you might wish to understand is how this can possibly work. How can you heal yourself and have it heal others? How can you even heal yourself? Why would it affect anything out there? The secret is there is no such thing as out there. Everything happens to you in your mind. Everything you see, everything you hear, every person you meet, every experience in your mind, you only think it is out there, and you think that absolves you from responsibility. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You are responsible for everything you think and everything that comes to your attention. If you watch the news, everything you hear on the news is your responsibility. That sounds harsh, but it means that you are also able to clear it, clean it, and through forgiveness, change it. So the truth is, our responsibility for what's happening right now, our individual responsibility, is what will empower us to change, fundamentally change what is going on here. So here's how you practice Ho'oponopono. I want to wrap up here because this is getting kind of long and we all have pretty short attention spans, okay? So you first start with, these are the four phrases that you start with. You say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Okay, say it with me, all right? Say it with me and feel it. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Now, if you have a mala or a rosary for some prayer beads or something like that, this is a practice you could do every single day, and it's a real short practice. You just go through and take a bead, say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Turn a bead and say it over and over again. I've got 108 beads. I'd like to do this 108 times a day because that is going to make an incredible difference. This right here. And through that forgiveness, that self-forgiveness, you're going to get your inspired action. It's going to be really clear what you can do, what you can physically actively do in our country, in our nation, to help this process along, to help this awakening happen, to help us flower into something greater than we've ever been, something greater than we can imagine. And it takes down what is no longer working for us, what is no longer okay in this age, in this time. Okay, God bless you. I love you. Comment if you have questions. I'll get to you.